Welcome to Tarvin Tutorials. Let's talk about audience settings, what they are, and how to use them. So the settings are just ways for you to make your job a little bit easier as you use Tarvin by setting up some defaults and some of the other settings in here. We'll go over those just so you understand. So the first thing is the audience name. Again, you can click on the name up here and rename it. Otherwise, you can rename it here. The second thing that some people ask about is double opt-in or subscription confirmation. For subscription confirmation, you can edit the email and the page. The email is what they will get. So when they fill out an opt-in form or a sign-up form, that will sign them up and put them into a pending status if you have this enabled. Then they will get an email that asks them to click a confirmation link. You can edit that email here. As with everything in our system, anything that is customer facing, we give you full control over what that looks like, so you have control over the customer experience. So you can edit the email here. We have a default email set up. Otherwise, you can modify that email, and then when they click the link, they're going to go to a confirmation page, and that's the edit page here where you can edit what that confirmation page looks like. You don't have to do subscription confirmation. A lot of people don't, but if you have a problem with people reporting you as spam or a high number of unsubscribes, then we suggest turning this on to avoid those future problems. Now, the next thing we have is data field categories. Data field categories just lets you set up the contact page. When you look at contact details or when you're adding a contact, you can group fields into categories. And in those categories, you can control the order that those categories are displayed. That way you can group similar fields together. So it just makes it a little more intuitive for data entry or for data viewing. So that's really all that contact category or data field categories are used for. Then we have the GDPR. So GDPR is just, it's in Europe, but it allows you to specify the settings that are needed for GDPR. So you make it very, very clear what you're using the information for, and you're gathering permission from the contact when you collect their information. So we give you all the defaults, so you don't have to change it unless you want to provide some additional clarity. So we're asking, in this case, by default, we're asking permission to do direct mail, email marketing, and online advertising. So you can get rid of some of these. If you don't do direct mail, you can delete it. Otherwise, you can add other permissions that you want to have in here. So you're clearly stating, which satisfies the GDPR requirements, you're clearly stating what sort of communication or what sort of permissions you're asking for. So this information will then show up in your forms. You can add in a GDPR control, and that GDPR control will show this information to the user and lets them check the box for the different permissions that they're giving you permission to do. So then we have the campaign defaults. Campaign defaults, you can just set up the default from name and the from email address that you're sending the email from. So when you create a campaign, you could select you're going to select the audience that the campaign will be based off of. That helps you control the data fields and whatnot. If you only have one audience, you won't have the option. We already know what audience you're going to use, so it skips that. But then they'll just set up these defaults for you, and then you can go change them at the campaign level if need be. But if you're always sending from the same email address with the same from name, then you can set that up here, and they're just defaults within the campaign. Then we also have within a campaign, we have a footer control that you can add to the bottom of the email. So if you add the footer control, it's going to pull in this information from here that gives the address information. That helps avoid some of the CAN spam laws, which is a United States federal law that specifies certain information needs to be within the email. We always suggest having a physical mailing address in the email, not a PO box, but having a physical email address in the email and always having an unsubscribe link that's clearly visible. So if you have those two pieces of information, you really help to avoid the possibility of being misconstrued as spam.